While my last video was a slow, methodical look into my favorite video game, this video is going to be a non-stop action-packed barrage of philosophy and metal. Let's get straight to the point. Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is the only Metal Gear game I've played and the only one I care about. Today, we're not hiding in boxes, we're ripping out spines and cranking the volume to 11. So sit back, take a fat bong rip, a double shot of espresso, and let's talk about the music and memes of Metal Gear Rising. Yes, I did just in fact play Stains of Time in its entirety. I've already accepted this video will be copyright claimed, so fuck it. I'm not gonna make any money off this anyway. For those who don't know, Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance is a badass hack and slash game akin to Devil May Cry or Bayonetta. You tear through wave after wave of disposable grunts, ripping out their spines and cutting them limb from limb. The top-notch gameplay only accentuated by one of the best video game soundtracks of all time. This is a game where if your heart rate isn't the same beats per minute as the music, you're playing it wrong. Maybe take another shot of espresso just to be safe. It's a thrashing electronic and metal soundtrack matching the thrashing of metal and electronics Cyborgs are made of. And while the battle tracks are all well and good, the standouts are the boss tracks. Each boss comes with a new theme, the score perfectly matching their fighting style, while the lyrics sing of their tragic past and their memes. Memes in this case aren't internet memes, they're Dawkins memes. And I don't care to talk too much about Dawkins, because much like most philosophers, he's so far up his own ass, he's created an Ouroboros.
The concept of memes was first proposed by Richard Dawkins in a book called The Selfish Gene. Dawkins, a biologist, stated that even if the actions of a living thing appear to be altruistic, each of its genes is still engaging in selfish behavior, purely as a matter of survival.
Basically, a meme is a culture idea that spreads. Each character has their own memes, tailored by their past and location, and much to their name, are passed on to other characters. Even the concept of memes is a meme, in a weird meta way.
Memes, the DNA of the soul.
Even Raiden starts to use the term by the end of the game.
The memes.
This game has a lot of bosses, so let's get to it. Raiden comes to us at the start of the game quoting the way of the samurai.
Sometimes by taking a life, others can be preserved. It's the code the samurai lived by.
He sees his sword as a tool of justice, never to be used in anger. From what little I know about Metal Gear Solid 2, Raiden used to be a child soldier. Born in Liberia, all he's known is killing, and he used to revel in it. But now he sees it as another job to be done. He has no choice but to kill.
They sowed their fate when they took this job. I'm just the Reaper.
He sees his enemies as less than human. They terrorize and kill innocent people for money. When Raiden kills people, it's to, quote-unquote, increase the peace. Mistral asks what his ideals are, and his answer is, I protect the weak. He believes in the rules of nature. There's hunters and there's prey. If only the strong will survive, Raiden will be strong enough for the whole world. When he loses the fight at the beginning of the game, Sam implies he's holding back his killer instinct.
Oh, I see. You deny your weapon its purpose. It yearns to bathe in the blood of your enemies, but you hold it back.
He brought a tool to a sword fight, and lost. Raiden's memes are first question here, and they evolve as the game goes on. We'll check back on him later. The first boss you fight is IF prototype LQ-84I, aka Blade Wolf. Although he's one of the first characters introduced, Wolf is easily the second or third most important character in the game. Being a robot, Wolf was built with directives. His memes weren't learned, they were programmed. But somewhere along the lines, he learned a question. One of his directives is to ensure freedom. But why doesn't he get a choice? This is described well through his song. His blindly following orders wasn't satisfying him. He hungered for freedom, and he had to try and take it, no matter the cost. This is explicitly shown through his DLC, where he steals his controller and fights his way through Desperado forces, even killing one of the Winds of Destruction. Although Mistral finally beats him, and he's once again forced to follow orders. Until he is beaten yet again by Raiden, and given freedom from Desperado, with his new body built by Doctor. His final memes summed up when he said,
"Freedom cannot be forced on others. It must be earned for oneself."
And also the reason he gives Sonny for looking up to Raiden.
Like me, he had been forced to kill. He has witnessed the dark side of human nature. But still, he continues to fight for what he believes in.
While most members of the game's cast see fighting as a foregone conclusion, Wolf likes to ask, why? Is there any reason? What do either party have to gain from killing one another? Usually, the answer is left ambiguous, like the end of Raiden vs. Sam.
Was this outcome necessary? Evidence inconclusive.
I guess even AIs don't know everything.
It is likely no single correct answer exists.
But other times, it's obvious fighting could have been avoided. After his defeat at the hands of Raiden and subsequent freedom, he never fights again. He only follows Raiden because he wants to, and only then assists with recon. He listens to Sam's words throughout the game, trying to understand his motivations, but never does. Hell, the first person to tell Wolf to think for himself was Sam.
Why don't you try thinking for yourself?
For myself.
Even then, he allows Raiden and Sam to duel, and at the end of the game, returns with his blade. He created his own directives.
However, Raiden came to my aid. I have learned from him. I have established new parameters now, created my own directives.
He didn't find the meaning to life, but his meaning to life. At the end of the story, he seems content with living the life of a normal dog, albeit with significantly higher intelligence. When he first meets Sonny, he shakes as she commands, not because he's forced to, but because he wants to. Before, he didn't have a choice, and that's the freedom Blade Wolf was looking for. He's moved beyond his killer past, and now he's free. Mistral introduces herself as the Cold Wind of France, although she was actually born in Algeria. Her family was killed during the Civil War, and she became a child soldier.
But I butchered those fuckers. My family's killers. That's when I realized I am a killer too. And a good one at that.
She became a mercenary, butchering her enemies all across the globe. But then she mentions how she envied her prey. This whole time, she was a stranger where she went. There was no challenge to what she did. She had no cause to die for.
To be honest, I found it quite dull.
Well, at least until his ideals gave her life meaning. This early on in the game, we're led to believe she's either referring to Dolzaev, the random revolutionary who hired her, or Sundowner, the leader of Desperado. But she's actually referring to Armstrong, a boss whose memes aren't fully understood until the ending cutscene. For Mistral, Armstrong's ideals gave her justifications for her actions.
I finally found what I was looking for. A place where I can be without a bars. Because I am a stranger who has found an even stranger war.
She's not just killing for thrills anymore. She fights and kills to create a new world, with a strong rule. A world where she can stand on top. In the end, she's beaten. She tells Raiden he will never fall like she did. She tells him she loves him. She found a war stranger than any she had ever fought. She found her ideals, and then died for them. Monsoon is yet another child soldier. Born in Cambodia, he grew up on the killing fields. He learned that this world has two options, kill or be killed. Much like Raiden, he believes in the rules of nature.
Wind blows, rain falls, and the strong prey upon the weak.
You wouldn't blame a lion for killing a zebra, then why would you judge him for killing? It's just nature running its course. He believes there's no free will. We're all controlled by our memes.
War is a cruel parent, but an effective teacher. Its final lesson is carved deep in my psyche. That this world and all its people are diseased. Free will is a myth. Religion is a joke. It's controlled by something greater. Memes. The DNA of the soul. They shape our will. They are the culture. They are everything we pass on.
Those are the so-called stains of time. He tries to wash away all that he learned on those fields, the scars left on his mind by the horrors of war. But it's dry inside. Nothing will be washed away. And so here he is, living like this until his dreams disappear. When Raiden asks,
Who's next?
Sam initially steps up, because it seems like he's bored. But then Monsoon responds,
He's mine.
Monsoon just found his prey, and he's going on a hunt. Which he does in fact lose, but not before changing Raiden's entire worldview, and passing on his memes with his dying words. Ever since he lost to Sam, we've seen flashes of Raiden's Jack the Ripper personality. First was in Mexico, after George told Raiden his life wasn't precious. All Raiden needed was a small justification to cut someone innocent in half. I mean, it was for the sake of the greater good, and George survived because they were in a high-tech cybernetics lab, but it's still kind of evil. Raiden himself reflects on this while driving into Denver. He reminds George, and then himself, that killing isn't all fun and games.
Yeah, just remember that.
Later on, when fighting the Denver police, Sam challenges Raiden's "they sowed their fates" line. He asks Raiden if they really did. He asks if being offered lots of money, replacement limbs, and having their pain and fear suppressed is really them choosing a fate. Or were they just giving an offer they couldn't refuse?
Goddamn IED took my leg. I needed a job. Stop! I didn't know what I was signing up for.
Raiden thought they had a fair choice, and chose to fight. This leaves him in an extremely distressed emotional state, and it only goes downhill from here. He then encounters Monsoon, who tells him his means of justice is just a facade.
Sam tells me you see your weapon as a tool. Something that saves lives, a means of justice. Now there's a pretty meme. Exquisite. It spared you the burden of all the lives you've taken. Absolved you of guilt when you enjoyed it.
And to this, Raiden actually agrees. He always told himself that it was about protecting the weak, but he really just needed something to keep the Ripper from coming out. He accepts his nature, indulges the Ripper. He doesn't fight for justice, or to protect the innocent. He fights because of pain. His pain, and the anger it gives him. After butchering Monsoon, he reflects on what just happened. He tells Kevin,
I don't want this for anyone else.
the context of this scene is really important. Right now, Raiden has gone rogue in order to stop Desperado from extracting the brains of children, training them in VR as child soldiers, and unleashing them upon the world. This is almost exactly what happened to Raiden. He decides that one Jack the Ripper is enough. If he has to become that devil again, at least it'll be to prevent anybody else from suffering the same fate. Even among a cast of sadistic war criminals, Sundowner almost stands out as the worst of them all. He's a self-described honest warmonger, making a living through the war economy, selling guns, mercenaries, and cybernetics. After whatever the hell happened in MGS4, his contracts have disappeared and he's almost out of the job. His introduction to the plot is the kidnapping and assassination of Umani.
Africa's just getting a bit too peaceful.
He tells Raiden about all the good things war has done.
What about all the good things war has done for us? Why don't we ever hear speeches about that? Jobs, technology, a common purpose?
The child brains were his idea. To him, right and wrong are just memes.
They're kids, you son of a bitch. And kids are cruel. All people are by nature. They just lose touch with it as they get older.
War is just a part of who we are. Before Sundowner, it was the Patriots. And before them, it was somebody else. Instead of fighting the base instinct of humanity, he embraces it.
Like I said, kids are cruel, Jack. And I'm very in touch with my inner child.
He uses this to his advantage, lining his pockets. His song invokes the scene after a massacre. Vultures and birds of prey waiting to strike. His cyborgs coming to raise a red sun over Eden. And in the end, nobody forgets that red sun.
Like the good old days after 9/11.
When night falls on Sundowner, his memes go with him. The Sears program too. It was a bad meme machine, and Raiden shut it down. Samuel Rodriguez, Jetstream Sam. Sam is, well, the best. At the beginning of his DLC, set before the events of the main game, Sam styles himself a samurai,
Nothing like a sword fight under the cherry blossoms.
and is identified by Wolf as such. He tells Wolf he wanders the world, sharpening his skills and dispensing justice.
But only to those who deserve it. Such as outlaws, desperados.
You refer to World Marshal.
He seems to have an inherent sense of right and wrong. Later, we learn he almost took down an entire drug cartel single-handedly, but it was for revenge. He tells Monsoon that he isn't at World Marshal for world peace, but for himself. And when Armstrong offers him a job, he says that his job is already destroying men like Armstrong.
Bastards who keep the status quo. Send others to die.
Unlike Raiden, he doesn't take a moral stance about protecting the weak. In fact, he doesn't talk about his memes much at all, only really in response to questions from other characters. When Monsoon calls him naive, Sam doesn't really seem to care. And he takes the statement about not being able to destroy them with violence alone as more of a challenge than anything else.
Then I'll just have to kill all of it. All of you.
This brings up another important part of Sam's character, his skill and confidence. Throughout the game, we've seen he is always ready for a fight, from his introduction to his final scene. As Wolf dies, he asks why he lost, and Sam responds,
You fight because you're forced to. I fight because I choose to.
he literally always chooses to fight. At the same time, Sam tells Wolf, I'm quite good, you know, and apologizes that Wolf has to fight him in the first place. This isn't false confidence. It comes from years of fighting and never losing. Everyone from Kevin to Monsoon speaks his praises. He is shown to be stronger, faster, and have better technique than almost every other cyborg in the game. Many times, before a fight happens, he stands there, bored. He taunts Raiden's self-taught skills, and he also almost kills him at this point. He also outspeeds Armstrong's nanomachines and casually cuts a Metal Gear Ray in half. His list of accomplishments stack higher than the World Marshal building itself.
Another one? This place is huge.
When he faces off against Armstrong on the rooftop, he sees something he hasn't seen in a long time. A challenge. He claps and laughs as Armstrong powers up, ready to fight, as he always is. He almost bests him too, cutting off his arm with one quick slash. But Armstrong's tenacity gets the better of him, and Sam is beaten. After that, he and Armstrong are seen laughing, and after that, they appear as allies in Africa. There's no grand speech about how Armstrong and Monsoon were right. He just quietly accepts he's beaten and follows Desperado from then on. He sees he's misjudged Armstrong, decides to hear him out, although his allegiance is questionable. He beats Raiden, sure, gives him a few wounds he won't forget, but he doesn't kill him. He had plenty of time, but the plausible deniability of the train exiting the tunnel gives him the chance to leave Raiden alive. Sam's focus is never really Desperado's goal of unending global war. He mostly just wants to fight people, and Raiden specifically. Their goals aren't the same, but parallel. On the train, he gives his bringing a tool to a sword fight speech. And in Denver, he talks to Raiden about the police and military cyborgs, pushing his mental state to the breaking point. When the Ripper finally comes out, he's ready to dance, but Monsoon steps in. Sam knew full well Monsoon was going to lose that fight, and after that, he leaves Denver, while Raiden cleans up what's left of World Marshal. When Sam, Wolf, and Raiden meet in the desert, he says,
This is between us.
and Wolf even argues with him, pleading, really, must you fight? And Wolf is right, there's really no reason. Their ideals are similar, and they both hate Armstrong. Why not team up? Well, the answer is... Sam is a man who never knew what he wanted. He wanted revenge, and he got it. Then he never stopped. He was no longer Samuel Rodriguez. He was Jetstream Sam. Manuano, the cool Brazilian wind. A man who knew nothing but war. This is his normal. His nature. And when two men who know nothing but war meet, they are destined to fight. His actions frequently confuse Wolf, who tries to analyze the situation rationally. But both him and Raiden know that this is between them, and it ends here. When the two samurai do battle beneath the setting sun, the true Sam is revealed. He climbed a mountain of success and bodies, But to what end? He never realized why he fights, and he admits it all to himself when he fights his last. His song, of course, reflects this, revealing his inner turmoil. And just as the song says, there was blood shed that day. Sam dies with honor. Most boss fights end in triumph, but this is a somber ending. Other bosses leave parting words, but Sam simply dies. His final reveal being that he barely had any cybernetics. His skill and power really were second to none, and had the fight been even, Sam's skill surely would have won the day. Out of respect, Raiden wipes away the blood and sheathes Sam's blade. Wolf retains it in his memory. The Murasama makes its return at the end of the game. Imbued with the memes of its master, it too shed blood.
2 years I've been working towards this. And on the last day, Blondie has me doubting the whole thing. We'll leave it up to fate then, shall we, Wolfie? A duel to the death. May the best man win.
Sam.
I cut him down, and that's that. Back to a regularly scheduled international incident. But if he beeps me, if I die here, the lock on my blade will disable after a couple hours. What happens after that is up to you, Wolfie.
Ha! Even dead, that guy's a pain in my ass.
The sword that almost defeated Armstrong took his life this time. Rest in peace, Samuel Rodriguez. From the beginning to the end, you were the best. I also feel obligated to mention my favorite remix of The Only Thing I Know For Real by Lass. Absolute banger edit, link in the description. Before we get to Armstrong, there was one last villain we need to discuss. The Patriots are long gone. 4 years after MGS4, the last of their machinations should have come to an end, but they left their memes behind. Armstrong calls them the great isms.
Nationalism, unilateralism, materialism. Welcome maxims for those with no faith, without guiding principles of their own.
Memes implanted so deep in our culture that another group can come along and take their place. In a way to say, mind control. A collective consciousness, if you will. The Patriots planted the seed, and Armstrong is going to reap what they sowed.
Every American man, woman, and child. We're all sons of the Patriots now!
As Armstrong explains, Raiden connects the dots. The senator isn't wrong. Every one of his statements are correct. Raiden understands this.
But the president was saved.
And yet American blood was spilled.
By Americans. Besides, a few dozen soldiers is tragic, but nothing to start a major war over.
That's just the spark, son. The excuse we've been waiting for. America's wanted this war for years.
Perhaps had he considered the consequences, he wouldn't have acted so rashly. But then he pushes back. Armstrong might be technically correct, but it still doesn't explain his actions.
Typical politician. Big promises, but all talk.
What?
Jumpstart the economy. What a load of bullshit! All you care about is lining your own pockets. That and your approval ratings. rebels! Just like all the rest!
Use the Patriots memes to start a war. Then what? Just to rake in the cash and get more votes? He's just the same as all those other limp dick lawyers and chicken shit bureaucrats. Right? Right? Wrong. Armstrong's plans run much deeper than personal gain. He's very well spoken, so we'll let him explain.
Wanna know why? I have a dream.
What?
That one day, every person in this nation will control their own destiny. A land of the truly free, damn it. A nation of action, not words, ruled by strength, not committee. Where the law changes to suit the individual, not the other way around. Where power and justice are back where they belong. In the hands of the people!
He called the great isms welcome maxims for those with no faith. He takes advantage of them, but never once falls to them. His memes are in rebuilding society, creating a new way of life. One he sees as more worthy than the 24/7 spew of trivia and celebrity bullshit. When Raiden tries to argue with him, he says Raiden is an example of this.
Not when you're purging the weak, right? What do you know about the weak? You weren't born poor. You've never been hungry. You don't know what it's like to fight and steal and kill just to survive.
But you did survive! Through sheer force of will, following your own set of rules. With your own two hands, you took back your life!
His memes brought him here, to this fight. Raiden is a living example of Armstrong's ideals. The final boss theme is, it has to be this way. And while most boss themes are sung from the villain's perspective, this one could go either way. The song even says, maybe we're both the same. Two men trying to make history the way they see fit. But violence breeds violence, and so it has to be this way. After a hard-fought battle, Raiden rips out Armstrong's heart, solidifying Armstrong's memes inside of his own. Armstrong calls Raiden his successor. Everything Raiden is and does, Armstrong wanted for the whole world.
Deep inside, we're kindred spirits. You and I.
Raiden goes through a lot during the whole course of the story, but his primary focus never shifts. After losing his arm and eye, he starts to question his means of justice, fully losing faith in these ideals after fighting Monsoon. He indulges the Ripper for a while, and when Armstrong falls, he learns the true nature of his memes. Not taking Armstrong's role, but living by them. He goes to dark places. He hurts lots of people. Many times, these people didn't know what they were fighting for, and they definitely didn't deserve it. But these are his burdens. He fights the best he can to save the most he can. Armstrong told him he's upholding the status quo. So what? The president's life was saved, a war was prevented in the meantime, and Armstrong is no longer on the ballot. He saved hundreds, if not thousands of children from horrible lives the same as his. Not to mention the potential chaos the world would have been plunged into if Raiden had simply let the plan happen. When it comes to the ending of the game, I see Raiden as the protector of the future. Raiden is an imperfect solution to an imperfect world. He fights for a world where Sonny, George, and Wolf can live peaceful lives, where Doctor gets to apply his science to help people for once, and the cyborg children get to be part of something, not just mindless killing machines. The ending of the game is an optimistic one. Both Sunny and I agree.
The Raiden I know is a hero.
Every single meme I've talked about today is flawed in some way. Personally, I feel it's about the flagrant disregard for human life. This game isn't about accepting the memes we've learned. It's about recognizing them, finding and understanding our motivations. I'm not a philosopher. As stated before, I can't read a book. I want to leave you with a quote from the end credits song, one that is very close to my own personal ideals. Goodbye, friends.
The only way out of